בשם השם נעשה ונצליח, שיעור תורה, ברוך השם, ברוכים הבאים. Thank you very much for coming. School mitzvot rabot. We're on our Tuesday night shiur, Iggeret HaRAMBAN series. I've learned quite a bit from the Ramban so far, but I think we're just beginning. Today's shiur will be for a refuah shlema for Naomi bat Sarah, for David ben Nesriya, Doris bat Jora, Levana bat Sarah, Sarah bat Levana, Ovadia ben Levana, Yosef ben Levana, Yochevet bat Batya, Batya bat Sarah, Dvora bat Mercedes, Esther bat Tzipora. Bezrat Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give them refuah shlema, refuat hanefesh, refuat haguf. You know, saying the refuah shlema, you never really appreciate it until you need it. So it's amazing how in 1 second Hashem can really make you realize how much of a nothing you are. Shtabach Shimolad. Where the other day, where I was freezing in the Shiur, after the lecture, people said it wasn't really cold, and I realized why they weren't cold and I was cold. I was getting a fever. By the time I got home, I had 104 fever, Baruch Hashem. So it was a very interesting night. But Baruch Hashem, Hashem gives us different tests. We try, Bezrat Hashem, to pass all of them. Bezrat Hashem, we will. But sometimes Hashem will make you fail or make you stumble for your own good. And that's going to be one of the things we're going to learn, Bezrat Hashem, from the Ramban today, that sometimes failure is good. And sometimes failure is necessary, especially when it comes to chokhmah. Because one of the things that people really do not value very much is people today do not have very much emunat chachamim, faith in our sages. People don't have very much value for the chachamim. Many times I hear people call rabbis by their first names. I remember when I first moved to Florida, I met twin brothers that had a very, very successful business. And we were in a house, someone invited us to the same house, and we're having a conversation. And I got into religion, of course, and they asked me also, do you listen to anyone? Do you do this? Do you do that? And we started exchanging different names, and, I mentioned Rabbi Mizrahi. So usually you mention Rabbi Mizrahi, or you mention me today, you'll get different reactions. Sometimes I love him, sometimes I hate him, but you're never going to get a neutral reaction, Baruch Hashem. It's always something. But this one surprised me because I was still relatively new. And these two yo-yos said, "Oh, Yossi." I looked at the guy, "What? Who? You mean Yossi, Yossi." I'm like, "Who's Yossi?" Rabbi Mizrahi. Like, you mean Rabbi Yosef Mizrahi? You're calling him Yossi? Yeah, Yossi. And honestly, I wanted to take the plate and throw it at them. Like, what's the matter with you? Forget about you like him, don't like him. It's irrelevant. Have a little decency. But that's the thing. People don't have it. And you see it more and more today. People call rabbis by their first names because it's not necessarily that they're trying to disrespect the person. It's not necessarily coming from bad intentions. It's that, number one, people want to be friendly. And they think that if they call you a rabbi or a doctor or a mister, that's not friendly. The second thing is, which is more critical for our topic, is people have no erech for chokhmah. They have no concept, no value for what chokhmah is. They don't understand how much you have to toil and break your head and sacrifice over and over and over again to ever even understand a single halacha like you're supposed to. To ever understand one shura in the Gemara. One line in the entire Gemara, understand it like you're supposed to. No one actually understands it until they do it themselves. And that's the problem. People have no concept. They think that being a rabbi that's, is a Talmid Chacham, not just somebody that just decided to call themselves a rabbi, but because someone that's actually learned a lot of Torah, teaches people, helps people change their life, and so on and so forth. To do that, they think it's the same thing like being a doctor. They think it's the same thing as like being a lawyer or an accountant or or architecture. They think it's the same thing. What? That's a profession. That's a profession. That's the problem. If you think that nuclear physics is in the same level of intellect, of sacrifice, of wisdom in general as Torah, you, my friend, have to do tshuva. A lot of it. Because you have no understanding what the Torah is. For example, I always tell you guys that there's a lot of people from Florida that watch the shiurim. But unfortunately, the vast majority of them do not come. Now there's Baruch Hashem, thank God, there's many, many people watching the shiurim around the world. People from Mexico, people from Nigeria, people from Australia, Austria. You came from Austria, right? Shtabach Shimo. Austria, now he's here in Florida. From Chicago, our dear friend over here, now he's here. We have people, Baruch Hashem, from all corners of the world. But the amazing thing is that there's also a lot of people in Florida that watch the shiurim. How do I know? They send me emails and text messages and questions and so on and so forth. I always ask myself, how come they don't come? Oh, but it's going to be online, no? So I'll just watch it online. I'll just watch it on Facebook. I'll just watch it on YouTube tomorrow with the popcorn at my convenience. And that's good if you live in Antarctica. That's okay if you live in Israel, if you live in Chicago, if you live somewhere that's really far away that requires a plane. If you require a plane to come to the shiur, no problem. HaKadosh Baruch Hu understands. You, 100%, you're doing Mesirut Nefesh for watching the shiur Torah. You're good. But if you live within an hour's distance of the shiur and do not attend, I always tell people that you're missing a big part of the learning. And the big part of the learning is the fact that when you come to the lecture, you become part of the lecture. As the Chida said in Birkei Yosef, Orach Chaim, Siman 290. He says exactly, I'll read you word for word. לא דומה אדם ששומע מוסר מהרב, לאדם שקורא מוסר, מספרי מוסר. A person that learns musar from the Rav, directly from him, is nothing like someone who learns it from a book. Nothing like it. הרי הרב מכניס את הכוח שלו ואת היראת שמיים שלו נכנס בקול שלו. He says that when you actually attend a lecture, when you hear the Rav directly speak, you become part of it because in the voice of the rabbi is all of his strength, all of his yirat shamayim, all of his wisdom, all of the things, and you are part of it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give the rabbi specific chokhmah at that moment, just catered to you. Meaning, when you come to the lecture, the rabbi 100% of the time will say something just for you and no one else in the world. That's why many times people come to the shiur and say it's very different. When I watch it online for 2 years, I came to the lecture, something happened. I don't know, it was very different. I said, yeah, it's very different. When you came to the shiur, you became part of the shiur. When you're watching it from your apartment 20 minutes from here, you're not part of the shiur. You're learning, but you're not part of the shiur. And that's a big loss. It's also a big loss because the Gemara in Masechet Brachot says that in the old days, when they didn't have YouTube and Facebook or even cars, people used to travel days just to attend the Shiur Torah. Just to attend the Shiur Torah. One of the Chachamim would travel 6 months. 6 months just to go learn with Rabban Yochanan for 1 day. 1 day you'd learn from him and then go back home for 6 months. Talmidim at the yeshiva says, well, what are you doing here? You're wasting your time. 6 months, just go buy a book. Why are you traveling all 6 months? Rabban Yochanan says, no, don't make fun of him. His Torah is more valuable than all of yours. He goes, what do you mean, Kvod Harav? But we're learning day and night all year round. We're not traveling, we're not wasting time. We don't even take vacation. He says, yes, but his Mesirut Nefesh is much greater than yours. You would never be willing to do what he does. His Torah is much more valuable than yours to Hashem. When a person travels to learn Torah, he gets something called schar alicha. Schar alicha means you get a reward for going there. How much is the reward for going there? The Gemara says the reward for going there is greater than the reward of being there. Now you would say, wait a minute. I came to the shiur. I sat there. I didn't even play with my phone. I actually sat there and listened to the shiur. I played with the phone a little bit, but don't tell the rabbi. A little bit I played. But I listened to 90% of it. Okay, 80% of it. 70% of the shiur, I listened for sure. 60, fine, I'm not going to lie. 60% of the shiur, I played. 40% phone. 40% phone, 60. Okay, no 50-50. No, stop it, Sonny. 50. Okay, 50% I listen to the shiur, 50% rabbi. I don't get anything for it? He says, yeah, you get something for it. But the problem is that the 50% that you listen to the shiur, or even if you listen 100%, are you going to remember 100%? No. You're not going to remember 100%. Why? You're a human being. You're not going to remember. If you remember 5%, that's already atzlacha. You remember 5% of the lecture tomorrow and actually apply it to your life, that's a huge atzlacha. Huge. Huge atzlacha. How do you remember the shiur? Taking notes. Now already it's different. Learning it again, not already different. You attended the shiur multiple times already. But one time you just came, sat there, watched it like a movie, 5% of the lecture you remember, that's already atzlacha. So Hashem wants to give you the full pie. He doesn't want to give you 5% reward. So what does he do? He says, I'm going to give you a full reward, not for going there. Not for being there. Not for that 5% homeless memory that you have. No. I'm going to give you atzlacha for the 20 minutes that it took you to get there. For the $20 you spent on Uber to get there. For the gas you spent to get there. For the 20 minutes it took you to walk there. For the traffic you withstood. For all the yelling and screaming you had to deal with just to come here because this one wanted this from you and this one wanted that from you. You say, no, listen. It's 9 o'clock, I got to be at the shiur. The world ends. Why? Shiur Torah. That, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives you 100% schar. Even if you live next door. Even if you live an hour and a half away. Hashem gives you 100% schar. That's why it's so valuable to come to a Shiur Torah if you have the opportunity because you live close by. When you don't do it, you're missing out on a big part of the zchut, the merit, and you also miss out on being part of the Shiur itself. Last but not least, since HaKadosh Baruch Hu obviously is not giving us that much more time to live in this world, Mashiach has to come soon. The world is destroying itself, so there's not really that much time. So that means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is fast-forwarding a lot of things. In the past, when a Ben Ish Chai would give a lecture, a few times a year, over 10,000 people would show up. 10,000 people would show up to every lecture. And every single one of them would hear his voice, without microphone. When his son took over, Rabbi Yaakov, they couldn't hear him. Say, Kvod Harav, we can't hear you. He says, I'm sorry, I don't have a Kadosh Baruch Hu speaking from my throat like my father. My father was not like a normal human being. Hashem is speaking through his throat. That's why you heard him. But even the Ben Ish Chai, with 10,000 people showing up at every lecture, okay, you limited to 10,000 people. Today, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants, this lecture or any other lecture could literally reach millions of people. If every single person right now watching this shiur, either live or tomorrow or in 6 months from now, simply does themselves a favor and presses the share button. Every single person. You have, let's say, 5,000 views, 5,000 people press the share button. That automatically becomes a lot more than 5,000, 25,000, 50,000, 100,000. And every single one of those people that hears it because of that share button that took you exactly 3 seconds to do, their mitzvot go to your account. But the best yet is the people that contributed to shiur by attending, by donating, by promoting, by doing whatever they can. I have a few tzaddikim, talmidim in different places around the world, in Atlanta, in Montreal, in Toronto, in a few different places. They have shiur parties. What's a shiur party? Every week, at least once a week, they invite a bunch of their friends to their house or to their shul, and they screen the shiur live. Why? People like to do things together. Le'avdil, that's why sports are successful, because people like to cheer on together. It's a lot more fun to watch an event with 30, 40,000 people than to watch it at home by yourself on TV. Even though technically you watch the sport or whatever you're watching much better from the TV because of the camera, but when you have 30,000 voices saying yeah or boo or whatever they're saying, at the same time it's a lot more fun. Needless to say with Torah, when you have a lot of people watching the shiur, it creates a lot more merits. Now, when a person understands this to the extent where they realize this is the emet, this is what makes sense, let me do something about it, that alone is a first step of change. The problem is, Rabotai Karim, is that that's only one of the steps. The other step is that we still need to learn. Whether you attend a shiur or you don't attend a shiur, you still need to learn. Now what happens is that sometimes people take God's advice and they start learning. They watch a shiur, they read a few books, and they start changing their life. They start going up the ladder, getting closer and closer to Hashem. They change their looks, they change their activities, and so on and so forth. But then if you look at their spiritual ladder, as it's going up, all of a sudden, if it was a chart, like a stock, you'd see like a crash at some point. Now their learning continues. It didn't stop. They continue to they're learning. They're even learning more. Now instead of learning one book at a time, they're learning 2 books at a time. Now instead of watching a lecture with the phone, they're watching a lecture without the phone. Now instead of eating popcorn and beastly and all that stuff while they're learning, they're just focusing on the book, not just the beastly. They're not having dinner and Gemara at the same time. They're much learning, but their spiritual ladder, instead of continuing to go higher, to get closer to Malachi HaSharet, you see them collapsing like a stock that went from 100 to 0 in one shot. Why? Why? If they continue to learn, technically, should continue going up. Why is the spiritual ladder, meaning the value in Shemaim for what they're doing, drop so horrendously? Woman is taking on tzniut, she's covering herself, she's saying Shema Yisrael, she's doing at least 1 Amidah and 1 Shema Yisrael per day, she's reading some Tehillim, she's praying for the Shekhinah to come down and save all of us, she's doing all the good things. She even decided to take on a fast once a year, other than the regular fasts, just for Am Yisrael. It's a good thing. How come the spiritual ladder collapsed? Who wants to guess? No, b'chavod.
Because they become prideful about it.
Chazaku baruch. Maybe you're going to start teaching. Shalom. I got to give them more chances. You're killing them. Chazaku baruch. A person becomes prideful. A person becomes arrogant, and she goes, instead of talking to Hashem and getting close to Hashem and doing the mitzvah for Hashem, what does she do? She says to her friends, "Oh, so how you doing? Oh, no, I'm good. I just finished the book of Tehillim today. It's only 12 o'clock. I just finished." She publicizes her mitzvot. "Oh, so how you doing? How's everything?" "No, I just finished feeding the homeless. I'm good. What'd you do today? It's 9 o'clock already. What'd you do?" "Oh, no, I didn't feed any homeless people." You start publicizing your mitzvot. Or better yet, the guys. Rabbi starts talking, they interrupt. No, Rabbi, I don't think you're right over here. And they start giving all types of things. Rabbi's answering somebody in a question. Somebody asks a question, they say, "No, Rabbi, I know this answer." They start the answer. Or best yet, they ask the rabbi a question, the rabbi gives them an answer, and say, "No, Rabbi, I don't think you're right." He's a Baal Teshuva with still diapers on, but he doesn't think the rabbi's right. He's been learning for 20 years. Still hasn't gotten out of diapers. But he read Misrata Shamim, understood maybe 1.5% of it, usually the preface of who wrote it. But, no, Rabbi, I think you're wrong. Halachot Shabbat, he still doesn't know. He actually didn't even know this was Halachot Shabbat, he just thought you're not allowed to drive. But, I don't think you're right about this one, Rabbi. Worst is if he actually did learn a lot. Meaning, he actually finished a bunch of Masechtot in the Gemara. Meaning, he even finished the Shas. The entire Gemara he finished, completed it. Daf Yomi, or 2, or 3, or 5, or 7 Dafim a day. Whatever he did, he completed the whole Shas. People ask him a question, he goes, "You don't know? It's easy. Bet Shammai is right. You ask him a question, he makes you feel like you're a loser. You don't know nothing. That guy, his Torah, 0. His spiritual climb, destroyed. Everything he just did went to 0. Why? HaKadosh Baruch Hu is disgusted by arrogance, especially when it comes from the Torah. Why? Because that means lo b'shamayimi. That means you're not learning Torah. You're learning something that resembles Torah, but it's not really Torah. Because the way you're supposed to learn Torah is you're supposed to learn it. It's supposed to soften your character and make you more humble, because the more Torah you learn, the more you realize you actually don't know anything. The more you learn, the more you realize how great the knowledge available is. Meaning that the more you learn, the more you realize how much you don't know. In the beginning, you thought there was one book. Once you got to the end of the book, it said, oh, and you can read the recommended books here. There's a list of 5,000 books. All of a sudden, you thought you were accomplished. You saw there's a list of continued reading, 5,000 books. Okay, fine, let me start going through the 5,000 books. He starts going to another couple. He feels like he's getting ahead. On book 150, he sees there's a completely different list of another 30,000 books. He feels he's achieved something because he already read 100 books. Now he sees another 30,000 on top of the 5,000. He starts reading another few books. He says, there's another list, another 90,000 books. He feels like he's going backwards instead of forwards. That's Torah. The more you read, the more you understand how much more knowledge is available. There are literally millions of books available for people to learn Torah. Today, different books, not the same book. That even if you read all of those books for 1,000 years, day and night, 24 hours a day, you still would not know even 1% of the Torah. That's how big the Torah is. In fact, you wouldn't even know as much as Chazal did. Because the Gemara tells us in Masechet Avodah Zarah, Avraham Avinu had 600 chapters to his tractate of Avodah Zarah. Some say 400. Either way, our current Masechet Avodah Zarah in the Gemara has 5 chapters. Meaning, we don't even have what Avraham Avinu had 4,000 years ago. Gemara Masechet Chagigah says Chazal, when they were learning Mishnayot, when it talked about you have to know the entire Mishnah by heart, in Masechet Shabbat, when they judge you in Shemaim, you're supposed to know the whole thing, but if you don't have Yirat Shemaim, then it's not worth anything. What are they really talking about? Talking about, the entire Mishnah. What's the entire Mishnah for Chazal? Chazal is, they had 600 parts to the Mishnah. 600. We have 6. 6 parts to the Mishnah. Shisha Sidrei Mishnah. They had 600. That's how minimized the Torah has become more and more every generation to fit the generation. Meaning that even if you know everything that you think is available, it's still literally nothing in comparison to what's really there. And their Torah was not even as big as Avraham Avinu's. Now, the Ramban says the following: V'im yitpaer b'chokhma, mesir safa le'ne'emanim v'tam zkenim yikach. The letter continues and he says to us, if the person takes pride in his wisdom, let him understand that God may remove the speech of the most competent and take away the wisdom of the aged. As it says by the prophet Job in chapter 12, verse 20. Now the Gemara in Masechet Shabbat, page 152a, says that a Talmid Chacham, as he ages, his wisdom increases. Not only because he continues to learn, and not only because he continues to have more and more experience, but also the chokhmah that he gains over the years, that stuff that he learned 30 years ago and 40 years ago from his rabbi, starts making more sense to him. For example, there are certain things that I learned from my rabbi 5-6 years ago. Only now they're starting to make sense. And I know for sure that in 10 years from now, Be'ezrat Hashem, they're going to make a whole lot more sense in 10 years from now. Like, for example, why did he choose, out of all the stories in the Torah, to tell me the story of Yehuda and Tamar? I already have a few different reasons, but I know there's many more. Why is this and why is that? You only learn some of this stuff over time. So as a chacham continues to mature, his chokhmah matures. He starts understanding different aspects of the learning that he has. But an ignorant person, as he ages, his ignorance increases. Hence the reason of why you'll see Talmidei Chachamim brighter than any 20-year-old, even when they're 95. Rav Ovadia, alav shalom, Rav Elyashiv, alav shalom. All of the giants, you see the vast majority of them, days before they left this world and left us as an orphaned nation, they were reading Gemara, they were reading Shulchan Aruch, they were reading and paskening on things, mamash, doing things that no one else was able to do. No one else was able to understand. Such sharp minds, 100 years old, sharp mind like a knife. 20-year-old, dull, like a butter. Nothing. The 90-year-old, sharp. But then you see the regular average person, used to sell cars for a living. Average person, I don't know, sold hotels, built hotels. 70 years old, most of the time, he's starting to lose it a little bit. By 80, he's a misken. Once, as he continues to grow older at 80 years old, most of the time he doesn't really want to live. They're just forcing him to. Most people, as they gain in age, life becomes miserable. Why? Because their brain walks away from them. They start being, if they're not really rich and they don't have a family that loves them a lot, they end up going into one of these nursing homes where pretty much they feed you daisa all day and beat you up because you didn't go to sleep, or because of this, or because of that, because they're evil people many times. And they're just, pretty much everyone's waiting for the guy to die. Why? Because no one can talk to him. He doesn't remember who you are, and if he does, he doesn't remember what you told him. It's a nightmare. He's worse than when he was a baby. That's the ignorant person. That's what the Gemara says. And that's life. You want proof? Go to a nursing home. After you finish the nursing home, go to a Bet Midrash in Yerushalayim. Go see the difference. Bet Midrash in Yerushalayim, you'll see young and old. In the nursing home, only old. One guy says that he went to yeshiva with the Rav Elyashiv, alav shalom. After yeshiva, continued learning for a little while, and he would always see Rav Elyashiv learning in a chair in the corner of the Bet Midrash with his book, learning, just sits in his chair, doesn't move, like a statue. People coming, people going, night, day, doesn't make a difference, he's still there. He says he left, he went to America, made a bunch of money. 60 years later, he came back. 60 years later, he had his life, had his kids, had the family, had the business, had the millions, had everything. He came back to the same place. Rav Elyashiv still in the same place. Shtabach Shemolad. Still in the same spot, same book, same chair. 60 years later, he didn't change the chair. That's why Rav Elyashiv, you know who he is. Or if you want to know, you just go on Google and half a second later, you'll have 50 zillion different images and articles and so on. And the other guy, we don't even know his name. But to become a Rav Elyashiv is not just you sit in a chair. It's understanding where you stand. It's understanding how valuable this chokhmah is. Now, the Midrash Tanchuma Parashat Pinchas, chapter 8, says that a Talmid Chacham who becomes prideful for his Torah and mitzvot why is he doing the opposite of his purpose? Like, why is this viewed such as the opposite of his purpose? He says because he doesn't understand the purpose of his learning. If you've learned a lot of Torah, you read a bunch of books, you have a whole library in your house, another library at the kollel, another library everywhere. You have a bunch of books, you chew them up. But now, when people ask you a question, you kind of make fun of them, or you make them feel bad about it, that they don't know. Or better yet, you don't have any kavod for the rabbi, or you don't have kavod for any chachamim. Or the best part, when someone tells you, yeah, but Rav Ovadia said this, or when Rabbi Eliashiv said this, or Rav Kanievsky said that, you're like, yeah, you know, you don't necessarily have to agree with them. You treat the Gdolei Ador like they're like you. You put yourself on the same pedestal as the giants. Like you and Moshe Rabbeinu, same thing, we're both human beings. We both put pants on one leg at a time. What's the problem? You think you're just like them. Somebody like that is doing the opposite of what he was created to do. Why? Because what he doesn't understand is there's a pasuk in the Torah that says V'igita bo yomam v'layla, meaning that you got to it day and night. Got to what? Got to the Torah. What does that mean literally? If you learn Torah and found a way to learn it 24 hours straight, you learn Torah 24 hours straight, no break with the exception of bathroom because you're still human, but that's it. You didn't eat, you didn't drink, you didn't do nothing. 24 hours straight. Everyone that's watching, you think, wow, that's definitely something to be proud of. I know one person that in 24 hours, he did a Shabbat, he learned the entire Masechet Shabbat. Masechet Shabbat, if you learn it in a year, you're already great. He learned it in 24 hours, on Shabbat. It's a minhag avot that some Chachamim do. They literally learn entire Masechet Shabbat. It's not very common anymore because we do not have such chokhmah in the world, but it does happen once in a blue. I know one guy that did it. 24 hours, he learned the entire Masechet Shabbat. Almost 160 dapim. Figure, I don't know, a few thousand pages in regular books. 24 hours. But not a few thousand pages of Harry Potter. A few thousand pages, with one page, regular person can take 5 weeks just to understand it. So if you figure, you learn 24 hours. After you finish this 24-hour shiur, your chest should be puffed up. Come on, look at me. Who else is like me? When Hashem created man, he thought about me. You know, that's what people think. What does the Midrash say? What do the Chachamim say? Chachamim say you have nothing to be proud of. Why? All you did is fulfill the minimum. What do you mean I fulfilled the minimum? I studied for 24 hours. He goes, exactly, you fulfilled the pasuk, V'igita bo yomam v'layla. You got to it morning and night. So that's what you did. You got to it from the morning, you study all the way to the night. What else do you want? That's the minimum. As the Mishnah in Pirkei Avot says, chapter 2, Mishnah number 9, Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai says, אם למדת תורה הרבה, אל תחזיק טובה לעצמך, כי לכך נוצרת. If you've learned and you've studied much Torah, don't take any credit for yourself, because that's why you were created. That's your point. That's the only reason you exist. Hence the reason why the Gemara in Maseret Pesachim says, someone that doesn't learn Torah should not be allowed to eat meat. That's what the Gemara in Maseret Pesachim say. Why? It says the cow is better than him. It's fulfilling its purpose. It's mooing. It's mooing, it's giving milk without resistance. You ever see a cow says, no, I don't want you, don't take milk. No, come on, moo today. No, I'm not mooing today, I'm on strike. No, the cow will moo, the cow will give you the milk. That's what it's supposed to be. But you, supposed to learn Torah, he's like, no, I don't feel like it. Why? I'm going to the game. I'm going to shoot some hoops. I'll be the next LeBron James. Jewish version. All 5-6 feet of me. The The most bizarre thing in the world that I see in this generation of how many young kids play basketball thinking they're going to go to the NBA. I never understood that. Just by the fact that you're Jewish, you should immediately throw that in the garbage. You want to play for activity, for exercise, bechavod, I don't know, you want to exercise, go do it. No problem. It's good to exercise a little bit. But don't live a fantasy thinking you're going to the NBA. Yeah, but there is one guy that's in the NBA that's Jewish. Yeah, one. You know how many other hundreds of thousands tried to be that one? You know how many millions tried to be anyone in the NBA? I used to deal with athletes in the business world. So a lot of times we would try to get rookies as clients because the rookies usually make a lot of money. The problem is with rookies is that you have to start dealing with them and talking to them sometimes before they have anything to talk about while they're still in college. Every kid in college, whether he's a freshman or a senior, is sure he's going to the NBA. Sure he's going to the NFL. Sure. What they don't realize is only a few hundred people get selected every year out of tens of thousands. And if you don't get selected that graduating year, 99% chance your career is over. Yeah, but I worked on it for 20 years to be in the NBA, to be in the NFL, to be in anything. So did 100,000 other people. Sorry. Yeah, but why can't you pick me next year? If you weren't good enough this year, you're probably not going to be good enough next year. But I tried so hard. Should have tried something else. Maybe actually go to school. And this is people that have the physical abilities and the physical stature and the 9 feet tall and they're this big and so on. Most Jewish kids, what are they? They're little scrawny little kids shooting a ball. Okay, so you hit the hoop. It's not enough. The best feature is the sneakers. But kids play and they dream this thing. I'm going to be a basketball player. I'm going to the NBA. They live this fantasy. Why? Because their Yetzirah keeps telling them, you are created for basketball. You're going to be the next best thing in Game Town, in PlayStation world. While the Yetzirah Tov says, no, my dear son, that's not why you're here. You're here to learn Torah. Nah, that's not possible. No, you're here to learn Torah. That's the point of your whole life. No, it's not possible. I'm here to be a businessman. No, Torah. No, I'm here to be a soldier. No, Torah. And Yetzirah and Yetzirah Tov fight every single day until the Yetzirah Tov, unfortunately, just doesn't do anything anymore. Why? You're numb. You become so far from the Torah, you don't even realize you're supposed to learn Torah. That's most people in this generation. Now, sometimes, part of the reason why people quit the Torah world is not necessarily because of their upbringing, because they went to yeshiva. They went and they learned and they did a few things, but sometimes they have a rabbi or a teacher that he himself learned a lot of Torah, but instead of learning the Torah to the extent where it changed him in a positive way, it makes him worse. It makes his bad character traits like arrogance much, much worse. And when one of the students asks a question, instead of answering the kid because he doesn't know or because he's double checking, the rabbi insults the kid, yells at the kid, makes the kid feel like a loser. And the kid doesn't know how to deal with it. And he breaks. I know a few kids like this, here, in Israel, in different places. They simply left the Torah world, even though they had the talent, they had the upbringing, they had the potential, but one bad word from the rabbi, one yell, one scream, one misunderstanding, whatever it was, that's all it took to let the Yetzirah take over. I know 2 kids, they're not kids anymore now, they're in their 30s, that the same principal in New York threw them out of school because they didn't have a lot of money like some of the other people. That already didn't make them their families donors. On top of that, there was Sephardi. He didn't really like Sephardi people so much because he wanted to fulfill the sin instead of the mitzvah. He wanted to fulfill the sin of sinat chinam. So he decided that first excuse, throw them both out. Unfortunately, since he threw them both out at 14, 15 years old, within a matter of a couple of months, they stopped keeping everything. And today, almost 20 years later, they're still both mechalei Shabbat. They both still keep nothing. Tell me, you believe in Torah? 100%. Believe in Hashem? 100%. Why don't you keep something? Nah. Why not? Yeah, it's not for me. Religious people. I don't like them. What does that have to do with religious people? No, listen, every time it goes back to the same story. Same story. My rabbi yelled at it. Why? Because that rabbi, instead of actually teaching the kids, in essence, what he was doing, making himself more prideful. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, if you are learning a lot, and it's improving your character, you're going in the right direction. But if you're learning a lot, and it's making you more prideful, it makes you think for even a second that you are better than anybody in the world, then you're not learning Torah. Your Torah is not from Shamayim. Now, the one thing that a person understands as he really learns Torah is that the more proud you are, the more it symbolizes that you actually don't know Torah. It's the opposite. Usually you would see the guy that walks in, he's the proud, he's supposed to be the guy that actually possesses all of what he says he does. In the Torah world, it's the exact opposite. The more proud you are, the less Torah you know. Now, the Ramchal says something very interesting. He says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a certain way to deal with certain people because he wants to protect them because of the merit of their Torah. So much so that even if a person is about to sin, Hashem will put barriers in order to try to protect them from that sin. There's a couple of examples in the Gemara where some of the Tanaim, Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes, were tested from Shamayim. The Satan himself was sent to show them that even with all of their Torah, on one end, they're everything, they're very important in Shamayim, on another end, they're still nothing. How so? He impersonated and looked and transformed himself into the most beautiful woman on earth and enticed both men at different times. And both Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes almost fell to this fake woman, to the Satan himself. Something, the beauty you cannot even imagine. They couldn't handle it. They almost fell. Satan turned around to Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes. He says, you're lucky. And then he turned back into the Satan. He says, you're lucky. In Shamayim, they say, don't mess with Rabbi Meir. His Torah is very important for us in Shamayim. Because if they didn't say that, I'd slaughter you right now. Just for thinking you can be with me. Meaning, on one end, your Torah is very important to us in Shamayim, and that's why we didn't let you sin. But on the other end, you should be reminded that even with all of the Torah, en apotropos la'arayot. There's no barrier to immorality. No one is above and beyond it. Everyone can fall to nothing. You're never righteous enough. You're never knowledgeable enough. You're never free from sin. Nothing. Everybody is going to have to fight. But like I said, it's only hard for the first 70 years. After that, it's easy. You can barely walk after that. But the key thing is, Rabotai Karim, is that this type of protection, the Ramchal says in Misrata Shamim, is one of the hands of Hashem to show us chesed to the Chachamim. In chapter 22 of Misrata Shamim, he says the following. He says, first of all, what are the reasons why a person should never be proud of the Torah that he actually has? Meaning, let's say the guy toiled. He has books, he learned them. He has the Gemara, he learned it. He has the Chumash, he learned it. He's learning. After he learns, and he learns, and he learns, and he's continued to learn, and he learned a lot. Misrata Shamim says, you still have no reason to be arrogant about it, prideful about it, or even think you're better than anybody else in the world. Why? He says, first of all, even the finest mind is imperfect and prone to error. Even the most accomplished sage makes mistakes. In so many words, the Ramchal tells us, it is humanly impossible for you to not make a mistake. Meaning that as smart as you are, even if you become the Gdol Ador, you become something special, as smart as you are, it's impossible for you not to make a mistake at some point. In fact, the Gemara in Masechet Chagigah, in page 14a, says that the only way that a person becomes wise and actually can stand up on his Torah is after he falls. But not falls and makes a mistake and, let's say, violate Shabbat because he didn't know this halakha, or he made a mistake in halakha because he didn't learn. No, he learned, but he learned incorrectly. If the person makes a mistake in halakha and eats something that's not kosher because he thought it's kosher, or he does something on Shabbat that's not allowed because he thought it's allowed, if that mistake is made because he didn't learn, no, that's not falling. That's just you already failed before you started. But he learned, but he made a mistake. Misjudged. It's said aloud, but he misread. It's really not allowed. It's like, for example, today I got some guy send me a message. I haven't responded yet. And he sends me a whole Megillah about one of my students in Montreal is bothering him. Why is he bothering him? Because he says, why don't you watch these Shiurim from Rabbi Yaron? He's talking about wigs. Why don't you listen to it? It's not allowed. It's not allowed. It's not allowed for Sfaradim. It's not allowed for Sfaradim. First of all, that's not my focus. The whole debate between Sfaradim, Ashkenazim, 400 years already, I don't have shoes big enough and shoulders big enough to get myself and throw my name into that debate. That whole world is completely different. That's not the whole thing. The issue with wigs that I only mentioned is the issue with Avodah Zarah because of real hair wigs coming from India. But the reality is, even a woman called me earlier this week, or left me a message earlier this week. I sent her a 10-minute personal shiur to explain to her that despite whatever she decides to do, it doesn't matter to me. She can come to the shiurim. I'd be more than happy. I have quite a few students that have wigs and don't have wigs. It doesn't make a difference to me. I simply educate. I don't judge people. I'm not a judge. I'm not a jury. I simply provide information. You want to listen, listen. You don't want to listen, don't listen. It doesn't make a difference to me. I love everybody the same way. People think that, like, if I see somebody with a wig, or if I see somebody that's driving on Shabbat, like, I become a terrorist. Like, I start, shooting them, taking his Uzi out. What do you think? I'm Rambo? I'm providing information, Ribono Shel Olam. Providing information. You want to do it, do it. You don't want to do it, that's it. I did my job. I did my job. I don't judge, I know nothing. You know how many students I have that still wear wigs? Shtabach Shimo, they're fantastic people. Amazing people. I don't judge nothing. I want them to be careful. I want them to make sure that everything's okay. Double check, at least make sure that you know where it came from. You did your search. You're okay with it? Baruch Hashem. You're not okay with it? Okay, so double check. Double check. It says kosher, but the kosher kind of looks like it came from China. Okay, so check. Why is there only one kosher body in the entire wig world, but in the kosher world of food, there's like 1,000? You have to ask these questions. So ask. You verified, your rabbi said it's okay, no problem. No problem. On the other hand, if somebody drives on Shabbat, I see him, I know he's driving on Shabbat. I'm not going to invite him to my house on Shabbat, because I don't want him to drive on my expense. I don't want to be the reason for him to drive, but if he comes to the shiur, I'll give him a hug just like everybody else. The point is, Rabotai, people take things and they feel like they're attacked for the wrong reason. Why? Because you asked the question. You ask the question, they think they're attacking you. I spoke to a woman today. Apparently, there's not much help here in Florida for people that are needy. So someone told me there's an organization that helps people that are needy. So I called them because I happen to know a few people that are needy, and I get to know a lot of people. So if anyone that's needy, I need to know who to go to, who helps. So I called the woman. I said, yeah, we provide food, we do this, we do that, we do that. Okay, great. Okay, can you tell me what's the, when do you give it? Okay, we give it on this day. Okay, can you tell me what time? Okay, we give it on this day. What's the requirement? Okay, we do this. Okay, fine. What's the kashrut? What's the kashrut of the food? It's kosher. I said, okay, I understand it's kosher. That's why I'm calling you. I'm a rabbi, not a priest. If I was a priest, I'd go to McDonald's. It's easier than you. I'll buy the food from McDonald's. $1, you can buy a burger, feed 10 people. But it's kosher food. It's more expensive, so I need to know what's the kashrut. It's kosher, sir. It's kosher. Okay, sir. What kind of kosher? Is it ORB? Is it kosher Miami? Is it kosher India? Is it kosher Zimbabwe? What kind of kosher is it, though? Sir, if they're hungry, they'll eat. I said, I'm sorry. If you were serving goyim, that would be okay response. If they're hungry, they'll eat. You're right. But in the Jewish world, if you're going to serve the Jewish people, some people are makpidim, they're more stringent on kashrut than others. They will accept this one, but not that one. So I don't want to send the guy to you, and he doesn't accept your kashrut. Why waste his time? Why waste your time? Why insult people? Point is, what's the big deal? If you're giving this food out anyway, for a long time, what's the big deal to just look at the label, Ribono Shel Olam? Okay, I'll get back to you. She never got back to me. Oh, at some point she told me I'm being very aggressive. Why? Because I asked, what's the kashrut? People don't like to be asked questions. Now I don't even know if I want to recommend it. Maybe it is kosher India. Who knows? Kosher Zimbabwe. It's coming with a bone from one of the bodies they find. Who knows? What's so hard to look at the label? That's the thing, Rabotai. Sometimes people do mitzvot for the wrong reason. And they do not understand why they're doing what they're doing. If you're going to teach, teach with the intention to help people, not to insult people, not to, hurt people in any way, not to offend them, not to win a debate. Like some of these clowns on the internet that like to debate people just for the sake of showing that they won. The point of teaching is to provide people information and let them make educated decisions based on this information. If they like it, ishtabach shimo. If they don't, Bezrat Hashem, try something else. Try something else. What's the big deal? Every one of us has a laundry list. A laundry list of things to fix. I always tell you, I'm the biggest one. The shiur is for me. You happen to be here. Everyone has a laundry list. Okay, she doesn't want to change this, so she'll change that. He doesn't want to change that, so I'll change this. You'll find something in the shiur, but sometimes people feel attacked. Why? Because you mentioned the one thing that really in Shamayim, that's what he has to change. So in this particular issue, this guy sends me a message, and he says, your student in Montreal is attacking me and hounding me because he keeps telling me that wigs are not allowed. And I asked my rabbi, and the rabbi says it's okay. And I asked another rabbi, and the other rabbi said it's okay. And then I called Yerushalayim, and I called my other rabbi, and he says that Rabbi Tzion Abba Shaul says it's okay. So why? Are you bigger than Rabbi Tzion Abba Shaul? Rabbi Tzion Abba Shaul was the Chavruta of Rav Ovadia. Now, first of all, you're being very aggressive. I should tell him. But that's not really going to help him. But in reality, there's a problem with the whole question. Number one, his attitude's awful. Why are you comparing me to Gedol Adol? If I'm an ant, I'm still not enough. What's the comparison? What's the comparison? Two, did you actually read what Rav Tzion Abba Shaul said? Or did you just assume that what the rabbi said is correct? Because now, if you really believe it's allowed or not allowed is on the line, and you relied on an answer that someone said to you, that means that you are in essence saying it's either allowed, I'm going to heaven, or it's not allowed, I'm going to Gehinom. That's your decision here. That's what happens in the world. That's how Torah works. It's not allowed, I'm going to Gan Eden, not allowed, I'm still going to Gan Eden, because it's just a discount version. There's a big difference. Did you check? No, he didn't check. How do I know he didn't check? I haven't responded to him. How do I know he didn't check? Because Rav Tzion Abba Shaul never said that. I know his Talmid that helped him write that book. Rav Gidon ben Moshe. He helped him write that book and that answer. What he was talking about when it comes to wigs for Sfaradim, we're not talking about Avodah Zarah. We're talking about just the wigs for Sfaradim versus Ashkenazim. When it comes to the modesty issue, all that stuff, that's the Ashkenazim have an eter, the Sfaradim do not. But some people thinking that Rav Tzion Abba Shaul says it's allowed. Why? Because they read the answer incorrectly. If you double check with the co-author of Gidon ben Moshe, he says to you, what did he say? No, if you look at what happened before it, what is he talking about? He's talking about, can a person say Kriyat Shema, let's say he's praying in his house, can he say Kriyat Shema next to a woman that's immodest? No. Can he say Kriyat Shema next to his wife if she has a wig on instead of a kisur rosh that she wears regularly? And he says yes. It's his wife, it's in the house, he's allowed to do Kriyat Shema. Meaning, if she's wearing a wig in the house, she's Faradi, but she wears a wig in the house, no problem, that's allowed. He never said go wear a wig in the streets, but that's the problem. People just, they assume that someone read it, they don't double check, and what happens there? They don't get to the bottom line. They don't get to the bottom line. Why? Because people are either spiritually lazy, or extraordinarily arrogant, or simply do not want to change. Simply don't want to change. But the problem is, Rabotai, is that if you don't want to change, no amount of Torah is going to help you. Doesn't matter how many Masechtot you read. Doesn't matter how many Shiurim you watch. There's some people that have been watching my Shiurim for 2-3 years. Ishtabach Shemo La'ad, they became angels. Honestly, I ask him to give me brachot once in a while. Bemet, I ask him brachot. So you get tzaddikim, give me bracha. I don't know how people do so. They go to tests like it's a walk in the park. So give me bracha. Some people watch Shiurim for a couple of years. Nothing happened. Not often, but it happens. Sometimes you see people, they watch all the Shiurim, but nothing happens. Why? Because in reality, the way that the two people were studying differently. One was watching the Shiurim with an intention to apply what he learns. The other one was watching it for entertainment and mental stimulation purposes only. He liked the way I sound. He likes some of the funny things I say once in a blue moon. He likes the little action when I do my little dance here. That's what he likes. He likes that. He thinks I'm funny. He thinks I'm this. He thinks I'm that. That's what he likes. But as far as changing his life, nothing. 2 years, still married to the Goya. 3 years, he's still driving on Shabbat. Nothing changed. It's not common because some of the things I say are relatively hard for people to hear on a regular basis, which requires a person to change or to simply stop watching. But the point is that it does happen. Why? Because some people simply do not want to change. And that's what we learned from the Chazon Ish last week. That the most important midah, the most important character trait of a human being is the desire to change. If you have the desire to change, automatically all of your character traits improve. You're less angry than you would be if you didn't have a desire to change. You're less stingy than if you didn't have a desire to change, and so on and so forth. Now, even if a person has learned an enormous amount of Torah, the Ramchal says that you're still going to make a mistake. We're going to learn why you're still going to make a mistake. Why Hashem actually causes a person to make a mistake as a way of helping him. The Ramchal continues and he says, secondly, a person really deserves little credit for his genius because the man who knows more than others merely is following the dictates of his nature and is no different than a bird whose nature is to flap its wings and fly. Meaning, just like the Mishnah in Avot says, you learn a lot of Torah, don't be proud because lekach nutzarta, that's what you were created for. You're never going to see a bird flying in the air says, ha ha, I can fly, ha ha, I can fly. You're never going to see that. Why? Because that's the point of the bird, fly. You're never going to see a chicken start making fun of the fellow chickens. Look, I can lay eggs. Look, I can lay eggs. You're never going to see that. Why? Because that's the point of the chicken. If it doesn't lay eggs, slaughter it, eat it as a schnitzel. That's it, finished. But the reality, as long as it lays eggs, it's maybe worth it for you. Doesn't lay eggs, okay, become schnitzel. A human being has a purpose. A Jew, even a higher purpose. What's the Jew's purpose? Learn Torah. Learn the book of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's why you were created. Meaning, if you actually follow this advice, that means that you're actually following your nature. You're following the purpose of why you were created. Nothing to be proud about. You're following your instruction set. It's good, you'll get a reward for it, but there's no reason for you to think that you're doing something above and beyond to make you better than other people. All you're doing is you're following instruction, you'll get rewarded for it. They're not following instructions, they'll be punished for it. You should feel bad for them. And that's what I try to tell people. Sometimes you tell people to do something. You want to help your friend, you want to help your colleague, you want to help your cousin, your mom, your dad, whoever, to do tshuva, but they don't want to listen. You send them a video, they say, please do me a favor, don't send me to this rabbi anymore. This Reuven guy, he's crazy. Don't send me anymore. You send it anyway. Next time they say, okay, don't send it. Third time, they don't say anything, but they don't watch it. You keep sending it once a week, but after a couple of months sending it, you see nothing changed. Or better yet, they keep telling you, don't send it. Don't get offended. Don't get upset at them. There's no reason for you to be upset at them. Why? The fact that they don't see the emet like you do is no reason for you to be mad. If anything, you should cry. Cry for them. Maybe then they'll watch, maybe they'll see the emet. Because so long as, if you actually care about them, rather than care about being right and them being wrong, you should cry, not get mad. If you told your mom to stop driving on Shabbat, and she doesn't want to listen. You told your dad stops, making money on Shabbat, and he doesn't want to listen. You told your brother to leave his non-Jewish girlfriend, he doesn't want to listen. You told this one to do this, and no one wants to listen to you. Don't get mad at them. There's no reason for you to get mad at them, unless you just want to be right. If you just want to be right, and that's the only reason you're telling them that, stop anyway. Why? Because you're not doing it for the right reason. You're doing it out of pride. You're doing it to win. But if you're doing it because you care about them to do tshuva, then you should cry. Why? Because they don't see the emet like you. They don't see the truth like you, which means that if they continue going this route, their end will not be good. That's a reason for you to cry, not to be mad. Imagine you know that this blind guy is standing on the tracks of a train, and the train's coming, but he also happens to be deaf too. And you could call him, Steve! Nothing. Steve, come here. He's deaf, he doesn't hear you. You go like this, nothing, he can't see you. Like this even more, nothing. Smoke signals, nothing. What, are you going to get mad at him for not listening? He can't hear you, he can't see you. He's blind, he's deaf, he can't see you. Yeah, but the train's coming. Okay, so that's not a reason for you to be upset as far as get mad at him. You should feel bad to the extent of doing something else about it. Maybe cry, maybe pray, maybe do chesed for him, do a big mitzvah for him, make a big donation for kiruv. I don't know, do something else, but definitely don't get mad. The poor guy can't see. That's the difference. A lot of times people tell me, yeah, this one, I'm so angry, she didn't listen to me. I'm so angry, they didn't listen to me. You're so angry? Don't do anything. Do me a favor. What? You're making things worse. You're trying to be right. No one wants to lose a battle, meaning that even if she agrees with you that you're right, she'll still disagree with you. Why? She doesn't want to lose the debate. So even if she agrees that really Hashem said to keep Shabbat, she's still going to say, no, it's not for me. Why? She doesn't want to lose the debate. Why? Because you came from a bad place. What is that like? There was a certain Jew that lived in a place called Pshischa. He was a tailor. And he was known as the best tailor in town. So the Paritz, the nobleman of the town, came to him and said, listen, here's a very precious garments that I got. I want you to make me a special suit, but make sure it fits me, make sure it's this, make sure it's that, make sure this, make sure that. So the Jewish paritz, the Jewish clothier says, no, come on, no, do you really doubt me? Aren't I known already as the best in town? I make the best suits in town, the best dresses in town. Okay, that's why I came to you, no problem. Some time passed. He came to the nobleman with this new beautiful suit. He shows him the suit, puts it on him, and the nobleman hates it. He starts cursing him out. He says, you stupid this, and you bad this, and he curses his mother, and where he came from, and where he went, and you're the worst guy in town, I'm going to ruin your business, and I'm going to do, oh, the guy, misken, the poor guy, just took it, the suit, he said, you wasted so much of my money, I went all the way to Paris to get this stuff, and you wasted all of this, I'm going to ruin you, I'm going to do this to you. The poor guy shriveled up into a little turtle, back into his little shell, and ran away. Immediately, he went to one of the Gdolei Ador, Rabbi Yerachmiel, the son of Yida Kadosh of Pshischa. And he told him the story. And the Rebbe says, take the suit, remove all of the thread from there, all of where you sewed together, remove all of that, take all of the stitches off, and then sew it back together using the same exact stitches. And then go back, bring it to the nobleman. In those days, unlike today, they had emunat chachamim. Chacham says something, we don't ask 25 questions. Today, people ask me questions, I give them an answer, they ask me 5 more questions about the answer. But why is this? But why is that? Can you give me a source? Yeah, I gave you a source. Yeah, but can you give me another source? Yeah, but what, one source is not enough. You didn't know there was one source for this. Now you want 5 more sources? Why, you don't trust the one source? Gemara is not enough? Shulchan Aruch is not enough? The Ben Ish Chai is not enough? It's the what? It's not, nothing's enough? No, I just want to know if somebody else also said it. What, you want God himself to come to your house? Say it to you? Is that enough? In those days, you didn't need that. Chacham said something, finished. He said, take the stitches off. And then put it back in the same exact places, enough. So, this guy did it without asking any questions. A day later, comes back to the nobleman with the suit. He said, here, sir, I fixed it. He's very angry. He says, okay, I hope you did, for your sake. Puts on the suit, looks in the mirror, and he says, you must have hands of gold. What did you do? How did you fix this? It's unbelievable. And he starts giving him compliments, and his mother and his father and his creator and his everything. And wow, you're the best. He ends up paying him more money than he owed him just as a tip for how great he is and how amazing he is. You're the best ever. I don't know what you did, but you must have hands of gold. Now, this poor Jew has no idea what just happened. So he goes back to the Rebbe. He says, Kvod Harav, lamdeni. Please teach me what just happened. I didn't do anything. He says, no. What you don't understand is that when you sewed that suit together the first time, you were full of gava. You were full of pride. Pride doesn't yield any grace. So your suit was full of gava. That's why he hated it. His neshama repelled it. Because one gavtan hates another gava. Arrogant people hate arrogance. You're never going to see 2 arrogant people as best friends. If they're married, it's on the way to divorce already in the same day. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. But after all the insults where in 1 second you went from being the best guy in town to now he's going to ruin your life, humbled you. So I knew if you take out those stitches and you re-sew them in your new humble nature, that humility will create the grace that's necessary. So when you gave him the suit, it came from humility, automatically his neshama liked it. If you're going to help people, whether it's by teaching lectures, or reading a book, or giving a CD, or giving advice, or whatever it is, if you're going to do it from humility, good, go ahead and do it. Because that alone will yield results. But if you're going to do it for the sake of winning, or for the sake of being right, or for whatever other thing that you have that's motivating you that's not the right place, it's better not to do it at all. Because it's not going to yield the results that you want, and it may weaken you worse than what you already started. Now, the Ramchal continues saying that if a person acquired knowledge, one of the other reasons of why he has no reason in the world to be proud is because that newly acquired knowledge also gives him a newly acquired responsibility. What is that responsibility? The Gemara in Masechet Avodah Zarah says that if somebody learns Torah and does not share it with people, it's like somebody who doesn't have a God. Why? Because Hashem is the one that wrote the Torah. One of the main things that Hashem teaches us through the Torah is His character traits. One of them is being gracious, giving. Hashem gives, never gets. No one gives anything to Hashem. Your mitzvot are for you. Your learning are for you. Your Torah is for you. Everything is for you. Nothing is for Hashem. Hashem gets nothing from us. Now, if a person learns this Torah the right way, he learns that Hashem is very gracious. In essence, you're supposed to repeat and emulate Hashem. So if you've learned Torah, but you're still not gracious, you're not sharing the Torah, then it's like you're somebody that doesn't have a God. So that's what Rabbi Yochanan says, or Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai says, that a person that has acquired newly found knowledge has no reason to be proud because he now has a newly found responsibility, which is to share that knowledge, to teach other people, in whatever form or another. So, having another job, especially if you're not getting paid for it, what are you so proud of? Now, one of the things that helps a person is the stumbles that Hashem puts in front of him. We asked before, why is it that Hashem makes sure that no matter how smart you are and how hard you try, you're going to fall. At some point, you're going to make a mistake. You're going to violate the mitzvah. Instead of doing the bracha on the Rashi tefillin, you'll do the bracha on the Rabbeinu Tam tefillin, which is bracha levatala. Not allowed to do bracha on it. Instead of starting Shabbat at the right time, you forgot that they went back an hour, you violated Shabbat for a whole hour. Made a mistake. Honest mistake, but you forgot. Instead of keeping this, keeping that, you made a mistake. Hashem is going to make you make a mistake on purpose. So, the Chachamim say, one of the reasons that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does this and forces a person to fail is actually in order to protect them from themselves. Because once you see that your own wisdom, your own knowledge, your own learning failed you, you now no longer have a reason to be arrogant. As smart as you are, you failed at some point. And if you failed, that means that you're flawed. You're not as perfect as you thought. Sometimes you'll forget an halakha. And your own student will have to teach you that halakha. Sometimes you'll misread something. Happened to me a couple of times. I misread something. A student of mine, during a shiur, corrected me. On one hand, it makes me feel like I'm zero. On another hand, Baruch Hashem, that I didn't continue with this error for a long time. But if you're trying to be arrogant, you don't want to, your chest is puffed up, you don't want to be wrong, you tell the guy, no, there's no way that you're right and I'm wrong. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will sometimes make you make a mistake intentionally just to humble you. Because He likes your Torah. He values your Torah. He doesn't want to lose it. He wants you to continue climbing. But He doesn't want you to continue climbing, and then become so arrogant that everything goes to nothing. So He wants to, once in a while, get you climbing, then have a bump in the road. Why? Because you made a mistake. Get up, go again. Get up, go again. If you see a Talmid Chacham make a mistake, there's nothing to make fun of. There's nothing to even feel bad about. That's actually indication he's going in the right direction. He has God's protection. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is protecting him by making him fall once in a while. Not making him fall, chas v'shalom, with a major sin where it becomes a public desecration of Hashem or something like that. Talk about he made a simple, honest mistake. Simple, honest mistake. Now, the other tools that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us is MUSSAR. And I'll give you a couple of stories of simply understanding what it means, MUSSAR. What does it mean, a person that has a Torah mind versus an average person? A famous story of a couple came to Rav Steinemann, alav shalom. And the couple had a debate. They needed da'at Torah. They wanted a rabbi to help them. They had some money. And the husband wanted to buy a fancy car. The wife said, I'm worried. Why is she worried? Worried about ayin hara. People are going to see, you're driving a $500,000 car. It's ayin hara, people are going to look at us. Doesn't look good. So, okay, no problem. We're not going to get a divorce like people do today. We're going to go to the rabbi. Whatever the rabbi says, that's what we're going to do. Today, people fight, they get divorced 2 days later. People can't handle fights anymore. They think that a marriage is a recreational activity. So they go to the rabbi. Rav Steinemann says, what's the problem? He says, oh, my husband wants to buy a car. It's a very fancy car. He goes, so what's the problem with the car? He goes, no, it's a very fancy car. It's very, okay, so you don't have the money? No, we have the money. Okay, so what's the problem buying the car? So the wife says, I'm worried about ayin hara. And so he looks at the husband, he says, how many times you've completed the shas? No, kvodo, no, I didn't, I'm not a Talmid Chacham, I'm a businessman. Oh, you didn't complete the shas? Okay, so how many masechtot in the Gemara, all these Gemarot, you have 36 masechtot. How many of them do you know by heart? No, kvodo Rav, I'm a businessman. I don't know those Gemarot by heart. Oh. How many Mishnayot, how many Mishnayot do you know by heart? Mishnah could be one line. How many Mishnayot do you know by heart? Guy's embarrassed now. He goes, no, because I don't know any Mishnayot by heart. He goes, buy the car. No one has anything to be jealous about. Buy the car. That's da'at Torah. Da'at Torah is, if you have no Torah, you have nothing. Who's going to be jealous of you? What, they're going to be jealous of some piece of metal that cost you $500,000 with some rubber on it? They're stupider than you. What are they jealous of? What do you have? You have a piece of metal, moves, boom, boom, boom. What? What's the... What? What's to be jealous of? You have no Torah. Where are you going to go in Shamayim? Car can help you in Shamayim? No. So what's going to be jealous of? That's da'at Torah. But that's only going to come from somebody that acquired Torah through toil and understands the value of it. Some of the Talmidei Chachamim that I know, people look at them and they think, wow, he knows a lot of Torah. Wow, he must have a very, very supernatural memory. Gifted person. They don't understand what these people went through. One Talmid Chacham that I know, when I first met him, I didn't know what his financial situation was. All I knew is that he studied a lot of Torah, he had a few kids, and he was doing his best that he can. Maskoret in the kollel, the income at the kollel, $400 a month. Learns 12 hours a day. 12 hours a day, $400 a month, 3-4 kids. You can't do much with it. So one day, I don't know, through conversation, came up, oh yeah, no, Baruch Hashem, today it's a good day. Wow, what happened? No, I found some cookies in the Bet Knesset, so I had some food for my kids. I said, what? No, I had some food for my kids. What do you mean you had food for your kids, cookie? What do you mean? You don't buy cookies? Because no, I had food for the kids. I had cookies. That's why I fed them. I found it in the Beit Knesset. Nobody ate them. It was leftovers. So I fed the kid the cookies. That's what he had to feed his kids. That's it. He found it in the Beit Knesset because people had a party. There was a few, 3, 4, 5, 17 cookies, whatever it was. That's the food for the kids. Why? Because I'm learning Torah. And everybody's happy. Another time, different person. Rav Meir Eliyahu, huge Talmid Chacham, says when he was learning in New York, people look at him today, they think he's a computer. They don't realize what he had to do for it. He says when he was first learning, he was so poor that after his stomach was pretty much growling to the point where he couldn't learn anymore, it was late already at night, he would look at the fridge to see if there's anything left, if there's a cookie left, or some leftovers, something so he could eat. Why? Because he wanted to learn Torah. He could have gone to work, could have been a businessman. Smart guy. No, I want to learn Torah. I want to learn Torah. Another guy. The Kehillah says that they need somebody to complete the Shas. To complete a Masechet for Erev Pesach. Why? Because all of the Bechorim, all of the firstborn don't want to fast. So you need to either finish a Masechet yourself, or you have to attend a Siyum Masechet. But something happened, the guy that usually does it didn't do it. They called him, listen, please, can you help us? What do you mean? I have to finish Masechet in one night. Okay. He says he studied all night until he was spitting blood. Why? The public needed him to learn Torah. Now you go look at these people. These are huge chachamim. Wow, probably born this way. Wow, they probably have, their father must be a big rabbi. Wow, they probably have a special brain. What? No, nothing special, nothing. These people put their blood, sweat, and tears literally to get Torah. A group of men walk into a big elevator. B'siyat d'ishmaya, at the same time, Rabbi Yashiv, alav shalom, also walks into the elevator. The elevator ride must have been long because it was one of those old elevators that takes a year and a half just to get from floor to floor. And they see the Rav mumbling something and then start saying Kaddish out loud. Says, Kvod Rav, everything okay? Oh no, Baruch Hashem, we just completed the Shas. What do you mean? He goes, oh, I have a Shas, I have an entire Gemara in my head that I review anytime I'm walking. Not the stuff that I learn in the kollel. No, that's different. Anytime I'm walking from, let's say, from the house to the Beit Knesset, that takes me 3.5 minutes. So during those 3.5 minutes, I learn the dapim in my head. And then on the way home, it's another 3.5 minutes. So I learn a few more dapim on the head. And then I go to the pharmacy. That's another 15 minutes. That's another few dapim in my head. And then I go to the doctor. That's another 8, 9 minutes. So now I'm in the elevator. It's another few minutes. And over time, I've completed the Shas. So you guys arrived at the right time. I just completed the Shas inside the elevator. His daughter tells a story, says that one time she saw Rav Yashiv take out wine and a little cupcake. He wasn't exactly a big eater. He didn't have a sweets. She says, Abba, what happened? He goes, oh, Baruch Hashem, I just completed the Shas my 202nd time. So I figured maybe I should eat something sweet to celebrate. My 202nd time. Who knows how many times he finished it after that? 202nd time. People think they're a big deal when they do Daf Yomi and finish the Shas one time in 7 years. You finish the Shas one time, you're a big deal. But not really a big deal. Why? Rabbi Yashi finished it 202 times and he had a cupcake. What's the Shas? Thousands and thousands of Dapei Gemara that just to understand one of them can take you weeks. Now what do you think? It was easy for him? You think he didn't spit blood? You think he didn't toil day and night for it? Of course he toiled. But anybody that came to him with a question, he had an answer. Simple answer. A lady calls one time to Rav Moshe Feinstein, Alav Shalom's house. Says, hi, can you please, can I speak to Rabbi Feinstein, please? Says, no, ma'am, I'm sorry, but he passed away. Oh, okay. Well, do you have somebody else that can help me? Yes, ma'am. What can I help you? She says, what time does Shabbat come in? She says, excuse me? She goes, what time does Shabbat come in? Guy answers the phone, says, oh, it comes in at 6:15 today. Oh, okay, fine, thank you. She goes, wait a minute, hold on a second. The guy was curious. He goes, wait, you wanted to ask Rav Moshe Feinstein what time does Shabbat come in? She says, yes, I've been doing it for 30 years. Every Friday, I call him at the same time. I ask him what time Shabbat comes in. And he tells me what time Shabbat comes in. The Moshe Rabbeinu of America is answering the phone. A lady says, what time Shabbat comes in? He says, no problem, 6:15. Why? Because she asked the question. You give an answer. What are you so proud of? You have the answer? Baruch Hashem, you have the answer. You're the lucky one. No, she has the answer. She's as lucky as you. She has the answer too. You're at the same level. You're at the same level. You know, she knows 6:15. You know 6:15. Baruch Hashem, you're equals now. But she doesn't agree. It's 6:15. Feel bad. Don't be angry. Last couple of things. Anybody here know the story that caused Rabbi Israel Misalant to, in essence, reignite the MUSSAR movement? It's a fabulous story that at first it was hard for me to understand it. You hear it a few times, it hits home. So this is one of those stories, maybe you want to rewind a few times. There was a certain shoemaker in town that Jewish guy that for years just fixing shoes. What are you making? A few putot, barely making ends meet. But one day something worked out. He invented something, and he struck gold. Started making money. Got rich really quick. After years of working, barely making ends meet, the guy that's almost a beggar becomes one of the wealthy guys in town. Now, anyone that knows wealthy people, especially if they're second generation wealth where they didn't actually acquire it themselves, they're not exactly always very nice. Sometimes they're a little snobby. I met a lot of them. That's who I used to deal with. Now, sometimes if you're new money, you're not like us. You're not like us. It's like sinat chinam. They hate you for no reason. Now, he had a wedding, and he wanted to invite all the other millionaires to his fancy wedding for his daughter, to see what he made of himself. Now he's one of the boys. So he made a really elaborate wedding, and he invited all of the other rich people to see that he's not really the shoemaker anymore. He's not really a shoemaker. He's somebody. So you see the chandeliers, and there's all types of fancy flowers, and there's all types of parrots, and all types of wonderful, amazing things. It was like a jungle. And everybody comes in, and they see, wow, what an elaborate wedding. Psh, psh, psh. You know, all these sounds, special effects. But you know, this one guy, he doesn't like it. Why? He's one of those like, no. You're either born rich or you're not rich. You can't join us. He didn't like it. So he decided to make a joke. What did he do? He took off his shoe, and he picked it up, and he brought it to the shoemaker, the millionaire. He says, let me ask you something. My shoe, if you look, and my heel, it's not stable. Can you fix it for me? The shoe guy, a multimillionaire now, inventor, big donor, was so embarrassed, he got a heart attack and fell. At his own daughter's wedding, you're reminding him of his past to fix your shoe in front of all these people. When Rabbi Yisrael Misalant heard this story, he says, that's it. I'm opening a bet MUSSAR. He says, Kvod Harav, what's going to be there? He goes, I'm going to teach people MUSSAR, teach them ethics. He goes, yeah, but these Reshaim, I don't know if they're going to come. These wicked people, they think they know everything. Rabbi Yisrael Misalant looks at them like they have 8 eyes. He goes, what? I'm not building the bet MUSSAR for these Reshaim that showed him the shoe. I'm building the bet MUSSAR for this poor guy that was a shoemaker, but now thinks that he's somebody, and he got a heart attack because somebody reminded him of what he does. Him I'm building the bet MUSSAR for, to remind him that he's still nobody. To remind him that there's no reason for him to be embarrassed. Why? Because somebody told you fix shoes? What are you embarrassed of? What's there to be embarrassed of? Well, because you have money, you don't have money, that changes who you are? No. For him I'm building it. Why? Because for him I have hope. For him I have hope. The other people, there's no hope for them. There's sometimes also no hope for another type of person. And we'll finish with this story. The Chafetz Chaim says in his book, Shem Olam, in chapter 6. He says that there are certain people that are born with talent, memory, or they are able to analyze questions, they're inquisitive, but they don't like to use that talent. They like to do what we call in street language, bust chops. So what do? Chafetz Chaim says that the Yetzer Hara makes these people that have talent come into the Bet Midrash and ask questions just to stumble people. Not because they want to know the answer, just because they want to show that maybe you don't know anything. Maybe I asked a question. You know, there's a bunch of people, a bunch of groups learning. And they come, they ask him, oh, what are you learning? Oh, Gemara Baba Metzia. So tell me, on page 32, it talks about who's the rabbi. So really, who really is the rabbi? You don't know. Think about that. He goes to the next guy. What are you thinking? Masechet Beitzah. So, no, egg. In the beginning of the Gemara, it says, do you pick up the egg on Yom Tov or you don't pick up the egg? You haven't got that yet. Okay. He goes there. Masechet Shabbat. Hashem said he's going to give him the present, but did he really give him a present? No, come on. You know, starts asking questions, all types of things, confuses everybody, and then leaves. He doesn't really want to know the answer. You guys have seen that sometimes. Somebody asks the questions and the questions answers, but leaves in the middle of the answer. You saw that sometimes. They ask a question, Rabbi, I want to answer. Okay, you ask me, answer. I start answering, they leave in the middle of the answer. You ever see that? That's that. That's that. They ask the question, they leave though. Why? They don't want to know the answer. They're not looking for chokhmah. They're looking to bust chops. The Chafetz Chaim says, he writes about those people. Chafetz Chaim says that the Yetzer Hara uses these people to go and stumble other people. But in reality, these people don't know anything. Meaning the guy that stumbled the people with the first question, he actually doesn't know the answer. The one that he stumbled those other people with the other question, he also doesn't know the answer. But he also knows they probably don't know the answer. But he wants to make it seem like he asked the question, that means he knows the answer. He wants to make it seem like he knows something. Because he asked a clever question. And even if he knows the answer to that, that's the only thing he knows. 9 million other things he doesn't know. But he makes you think like you don't know anything and he knows more than you. He asks the tough questions. Sometimes there's certain questions there's no answer to. Or few people have it. Because not many people study it. He likes to ask those questions just to show you don't know, but pretend like he does. That people in the yeshiva world, they call him merabev. Me'arbev. He comes to the kollel, starts asking people questions just to create havoc. Now, The Chafetz Chaim says, Aval en lo bishvil atzmo klum. But for himself, he doesn't have anything. Meaning he doesn't actually possess any knowledge, any wisdom, anything. He's just confusing other people to think he does, but in reality he doesn't have anything. And in reality, what does he have? He has the sin of bitul Torah, because instead of to go learn, he just went and just confused other people. He has a sin of arrogance, where even if he had chokhmah, Hashem would remove it from him. He is considered in Shamayim like somebody that works for the Federal Reserve, that prints money, and has become an expert in deciding and determining whether the bills are fake or not. Why? Because he deals with a lot of bills. You ever see any of these videos of the money-making system in America? They don't stop printing bills. Those printing machines, they are like Mitzrayim. They don't stop working. They print money like nobody's business. Now, the guys that work in those places, I met one guy that worked there, and he said they're literally around billions and billions of dollars every day that are being printed, but also billions and billions of dollars that are coming in from the banks that are old bills that have to be determined whether they're real or not. If they're fake, they're returned, and the bank loses that money. If they're real, but let's say the bill is destroyed, they issue a new bill, and so on and so forth. So there are certain people that are experts as determining whether it's fake or not. Because especially now with new technology, it's become harder and harder to determine whether it's fake or not. But there's certain people that are real experts. So imagine this guy, he's become an expert in determining whether the bill is fake or not. Chafetz Chaim, he says he's an expert in looking at the bills. But he takes it in his own mind, he starts thinking that just because he deals with a lot of bills, and he's an expert in determining whether they're real or not, he starts thinking in his mind as if the bills are his. Those bills are not yours. They're the government's. They're the rich guy's bills. You just know. You just have a skill. You just have a talent that was given to you. You have a job that was given to you. That's not your actual money. You go home without this money. The money stays in the building. You go home to your little shack. The money doesn't go with you. It's not your money. Yeah, but I know so much about it. So? That's a person like this. Sometimes people have a specific talent. They have a sharp brain where they could pinpoint something you said and they could confuse you, making you think that you know more or they don't know much and so on. In essence, that's the same thing. They're only sinning, and all of that comes from arrogance. These are just some of the reasons of why Kadosh Baruch Hu hates arrogance, regardless of where it comes from. Whether it's arrogance because of how you look, or arrogance because of how much money you have, or even arrogance that you would have from doing what he said to do, which is to learn Torah. A person is never allowed to be arrogant. There's only one type of kosher pride. If you're fulfilling the will of Hashem. Like we learned about on Sunday, if you're fulfilling the will of Hashem by helping other people, fulfilling the will of Hashem by learning His Torah, by doing His mitzvot with pride, not being like one of these people that's looking for a discount. He bought a house with 20 rooms, but he wants to buy the mezuzah from eBay. He doesn't know that some Chinese woman that knows a little bit of art wrote the mezuzah. That's why it's $35. He has a $50, $60, $100,000 bar mitzvah for his kid. You ask him, so you got tefillin for the kid? The kid arrives with a Harley Davidson bike. Okay, the bike's cool, but what about the tefillin for the kid? It's called bar mitzvah, meaning he is now responsible for the mitzvot. What about his tefillin? No, tefillin we didn't have to get. Why not? No, I have something from my great-grandfather, so I let him use it. The tefillin have turned white, that's how old they are. But he wanted to save money on the tefillin. Sometimes you see guys arrive at the shul, but they don't have a talit. Why don't you have a talit? You're a grown man. Why don't you have a talit? No, the shul has a talit. I'll use a talit from the shul. And if nobody has a talit, so he doesn't have it. If everybody uses a talit already, he arrived late, he doesn't have a talit. He just stands there with no talit. He does Birkat Kohanim. He asks somebody, do me a favor, can I borrow your talit? Birkat Kohanim? You're a grown man, Ribono Shel Olam. Buy yourself a talit. What is it, a couple of $100? You have a $5,000 watch in your hand. You have a $50,000 car in the lot. Go buy yourself a couple $100 talit, Ribono Shel Olam. No, but when it comes to mitzvot, he's cheap. He wants to get a discount. He wants to buy the etrog that's not really a etrog, it's like a lemon. He goes to the guy 20 minutes before he closes the shop, right before Sukkot. No. How much is the etrog now? $20. Ah, it's expensive. $5. No, in 20 minutes, it's not worth it anything. No, come on. The poor guy doesn't have anything. He gives him the etrog for $5. Why? Because he knows in 5 minutes, really, you can't sell the etrog anymore. The chag starts already. But he waits for that. Why? He thinks he does a big mitzvah. By buying a etrog, he got a big discount. That's the problem, Abutai. We spend a lot of effort to get discounts when we're not supposed to. We spend a lot of effort on things we're not supposed to because instead of listening to Retzon Hashem, we listen to the Yetzirah. But the line between the two is sometimes difficult to determine. The only way that we can know it is simply by seeing what the Torah says. You have a question, look at the Torah. You have a Talmid Chacham in your life, ask him. You don't have one, find one. The key is to understand that Torah is not a tool for you to think that you're better than anybody else. It's not a tool even for you to think that anything. It's simply a guide for you to live your life. If you have answers from this Torah that other people don't, help them with it. And get them to be on the same level as you. If you don't have knowledge, to go buy the knowledge. Don't be cheap when it comes to mitzvot. Sometimes people, have a fancy schmancy house, but when it comes to education for their kids, the kid needs a tutor. Tutor comes, okay, what do you want me to teach him? Oh, I want you to teach him Gemara. Okay, how much you charge? Oh, I charge $70 an hour. Oh, wow. What are you, crazy? $70 an hour? What are you really doing for this kid, $70 an hour? What are you, Lockheed Martin? Were you making missiles? What are you teaching this kid, $70 an hour? What do you mean, what is he teaching this kid? He's teaching him how to get to Olam Haba. If this kid actually becomes something, you may go to Olam Haba also. That's what he's teaching him. To get a tutor for the kid, if the tutor required $1 million and you have it, you should pay him if he's a good tutor. To teach him Gemara, to teach him Shulchan Aruch, teach him how to live as a Jew. If it was $1 million and you have it, you should pay it. But that's what people don't understand. Why? They have value for the things that are of this world, zero for the value of the next world. We have to understand. The Gemara says something critical, and we'll finish with this point. Gemara Masechet Brachot says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives chokhmah to people that are chachamim. He gives wisdom to people that already possess wisdom. So the question is, how come he gives wisdom to the people that already have wisdom? Shouldn't he give wisdom to stupid people so they could catch up and be like the wise? That's the question. So Rabbi Yochanan answers the question. He says to a person, if you had a lot of money, who would you lend the money to? Let's say you had millions of dollars and two people asked you to borrow $10 million. Would you lend the $10 million to somebody that has $10 million? Or would you give the $10 million to some homeless guy that doesn't have anything, but he wants a chance? Who would you lend the $10 million to? Now, every smart person would say, I would lend the $10 million to the guy that has $10 million. As kind as you may be, you're never going to lend $10 million to a homeless guy. Never. You may give him $100 because you feel good, but you're never lending him $10 million. Why? Because you know that the guy that has $10 million can pay you back the $10 million he's borrowing. The guy that's homeless can't pay you back. He's going to pay you back with your own money. If he spends it, you both lose. He has nothing to lose. You're not going to give him that. He says that's how it is with Chokhmah. Those chachamim, those people that possess wisdom, they only possess wisdom because they love wisdom. They appreciate wisdom. That's why they acquire wisdom. If they acquire wisdom because they love it, Hashem says they'll know what to do with it when I give them even more. The guy that doesn't have wisdom, the woman that doesn't have wisdom, it's not because she was born an idiot. She chose to be. She chose to watch Oprah Winfrey and Ellen DeGeneres go save a bunch of monkeys in South America.
instead of watching a Shiur Torah. She chose to look at monkeys. The other one chose to look at Shiur Torah. The wise, Hashem will give her more wisdom. The one that wants to look at monkeys, Hashem will give her monkeys. Why? Because even if Hashem gave her wisdom, she doesn't know what to do with it. Why? She's so used to monkeys, she doesn't know what to do. Was she going to give the monkeys 2 bananas instead of 1? What is she going to do with it? That's the key, Rabotai. If you want HaKadosh Baruch Hu to give you even more wisdom than what you have now, you have to show him you love wisdom. Loving wisdom meaning you have to study. Loving wisdom meaning you have to toil for it, you have to make sacrifices for it, and you have to pay for it. Why? Because your money is your life. And if you put your life on the line, that fulfills the Gemara in Masechet Brachot Resh Lakish says in page 62 that a person needs to sacrifice their life for the sake of Torah. It doesn't need to be the life mamash as far as them jumping off a bridge, but sometimes money could replace your life because we spend our time acquiring money. So if to fulfill a mitzvah is going to cost you $500, don't look for a discount. Look for a discount when you buy a car, not when you're doing a mitzvah. Don't look for the rabbi to give you a discount on the whatever it is that you're doing for you. Don't try to negotiate the mezuzah to be a little cheaper, the tefillin to be a little cheaper. Oh, this aliyah is 5,000. No, I'll buy the next one. It's a little cheaper. If you have it, buy it. Why? Because it's worth it. You're showing HaKadosh Baruch Hu that you love His Torah. You appreciate His Torah. Torah is not a place you look for discounts. Many of these parents that are getting discounts from schools for no reason. They have the money. They just want a discount because they know they can take advantage of the school. It's gezel. If you don't have the money and you can't afford to send all your kids to the school and you need the discount, no problem. But if you have the money but you're just simply cheating the system, you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to get a discount. If you could pay the full fee, you have to pay the full fee. And you'll see the people that pay the full fee, their kids turn out to be something. Sometimes the people that can't afford, also their kids turn out to be something, more likely than not. But the people that cheat the system, their kids always materialize to nothing. Why? Because it all comes from something bad. Lack of appreciation for Chokhmah. So Bezrat Hashem, this helps us appreciate Chokhmah to a higher extent, but even more importantly, even if we are fortunate enough to acquire it one day, not to get ahead of ourselves and to think that we're better than anybody else, and look to help people instead of win. Helping people means you simply want to provide them information, provide them help, provide them something they don't have, not necessarily win a debate or show them they're wrong. And Bezrat Hashem, this helps people that are trying to help people, at least help them in the right direction. Baruch Adonai Le'olam, Amen ve'amen.